Hello, hello, and welcome to Late Night Epiphanies with Ash. Although this is Early Morning Epiphanies with Ash, today I'm going to talk about past life regressions, and I have a special guest, my sister Amy. And
Hi.
the reason why I brought Amy onto the show, onto this blog post, is because my first past life regression sessions actually happened with Amy. And then years later, I got it done professionally. And so I wanted to talk about that because, I always say that while you shouldn't fuck around with magic, I definitely feel like in the beginning stages of my witchy healing journey, I just was very open to exploring shit, and I led Amy through her first past life regression, and it was wild. And
Shit was wild.
so first, what is past life regression? Past life regression is a session where you are being taken into a meditative state and being basically going into the journey of your soul's subconscious and seeing what past lives you want to explore and what past lives come to the surface for you to learn something. So I was talking to my friends about this yesterday because I was telling them how me and Amy are going to record this video today, and I was explaining how when you do past life regressions, you're not going to see all your past lives, but what's going to come up are past lives that are important for the moment that you are going through this regression. Past life regression is not just your human past life experiences. In my experience, I have seen the past lives of people who lived on different planets. I've seen the past lives of people who have been animals before. So everybody's journey is very unique and very interesting. And I've been saying this for like the past 2 years. It is something I truly want to offer because I just think it's so fascinating and it has like affirmed so much about my path. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun, it's interesting, it's deep. So Amy, let's begin with you first. So the way that I didn't do my past life regression with you, right? But I did it like I did my own meditation. I listened to some meditation on YouTube and I was mad hype. And then I remember Amy and her boyfriend were in the room and I was like, yo, you want to do a past life regression?
And I was like, sure. Knowing damn well I did not know what was gonna happen.
Yeah. So the way that I did it with Amy was literally she was sitting in between her boyfriend's legs and laying on him. And I was holding her hands and we were in the dark and we were just going on this journey together. And what I thought was so crazy was that everything that you saw, I saw.
Yeah.
Like I was in the journey with her. I'm gonna
Yeah.
talk a little bit about what you were seeing and how it was going.
Yeah. I mean, so when we first started, I think what I loved about it, the beginning part was like Ash made sure it was really like safe and like, that I whatever comes up is no judgment. So I thought that was nice too because I was like, I bet some wild shit happens. Like, oh my God, which some wild shit happened. And I was like, oh my God. So like when we first started, I think it was like a guided meditation into it. So like when I first saw it was like a red door. Like literally, I don't know if anybody watches Stranger Things, but you know when like 11 like goes into like the trance state and she's like
Yeah.
looking at four people. So like it literally felt like that. Like it was just black and it was just a red door. And I was like, I'm scared. But I was like, let's go through it. So we walked through the door, and it was so crazy because it felt like I was walking through. It literally sounds like a movie, but it's like you walk through the door, and it's like I walked into New Orleans. So that was the first past life that I had seen was me being and living in New Orleans. So it was like it had to be like maybe the 20s or like the 30s because it was very like flapper dress type moments. Um, and I just remember like just walking and like being in the person that I was in my past life and just like taking in clues as to what was happening. Um, but what was happening at that moment was like crazy because It was actually like the death of my past life that I was playing out. Which basically like the clues, because I like look at myself in the mirror at one point, like when I was like dying, and it was just like crazy. So like basically I was a black woman in New Orleans, and I was also a prostitute in New Orleans. And the reason why I knew that is because like there was conversations that were happening before the murder had taken place, which was basically like she was speaking to one of her clients and she was like, all right, baby, like I'll talk to you another time. You know, we could do our session another time type of thing. And then there was like an imminent fear happening, right? Like of her not wanting to go into this big house that was in New Orleans.
Yes. Yeah.
And like I remember like walking through this and Ash was like, bro, I feel that fear too.
Yeah, like
Um,
it was like a fucking movie. Like I like even as Amy is talking about it, I'm like remembering exactly
remember.
what the house looked like. I'm remembering exactly like walking down the road. Yo, we really need to take a sister trip to New Orleans, first of all.
Yo, dead
I
ass,
know, just side note. But yeah, continue going. Continue going.
yeah, so it was like, you know, I was walking up these steps and I remember me like looking back at this person that I just like said bye to and then being like, I want to go back to this person, like, or I want to call for help. But then I was like, no, like I gotta go inside. So I go inside this house and it was just like it was dark. Like it just seemed like it just became night all of a sudden. Um, but then I just remembered, like, I felt the panic, right? Where I was like running up the stairs and like I was running away from somebody. And then I remember, like, while running up the stairs, I just distinctly remember me, like, looking at a mirror, like, literally turning my head, looking at a mirror, and I saw myself. And that's like how I knew what this person had looked like. And then it was like her screaming, right? Like, it was just like, I need help, or like something of the case, or like, don't come near me, like I don't want to do this. And it also gave me like kind of context of just like maybe she didn't want to be a prostitute, like maybe she was trapped in this situation. And then the person stabbed me, and then I was done. That was pretty much how I ended. It was like literally like as soon as I died, I cut it off.
Do you feel like there was, like looking back now, do you feel like some of the feelings that you picked up, or even just some of the experiences that she went through when you were in that past life, do you think that there's some things you carry from that life into this one?
I think I definitely could see, like, you know how we talk about like generational trauma with like our own family. This feels like a past life generational trauma that like it feels like you kind of like take with you because it was such like a violent death and it was such a violent like feeling. But I also feel like her freeness, like the way that she was as a person, was so like loving and carefree. Like I feel that within myself too. So like I can see how like that kind of carried with me now.
Mm, cool. And now we also went into a second life. So do you want to
Yeah,
talk
we
about that
did.
one?
That shit was wild. So I was a white woman. And like at this point, again, it was like we were already into this person's life. Like, I don't know if it was necessarily a death. I don't think I remember seeing a death, but I remember seeing her murdering someone.
Yeah.
And that shit was wild. So it was basically like now we're in the 70s, right? Which, like, if you think of the timeline, makes sense. So, like, if this person were to, like, the past life person before that, um, died in like the 20s or 30s, then this next person might have been born around that same time. So by the time the 70s came, she was around 20 or 30, right? So this person was in like her 20s or 30s, and like I could see that. She was a white woman. She gave me very like 70s vibes. Like she was wearing like a rainbow turtleneck. Like I remember like seeing the stripes. Like long hair, had that like a little bang moment. Um, but I just remember it wasn't even like seeing the murder, it was like seeing the chopped head in the
Yeah,
freezer.
in the freezer.
Yeah, so like what I remember distinctly, it was such a short, like
Yeah,
past life
it was
regression.
short.
It's like
Yeah.
it was super short, but it was basically like I remember me doing dishes, and then saw the mailman come, and
Yeah,
then
for the mailman.
right, so then I was like, okay, the mailman's coming. I don't know why I needed to go into my freezer, but for some reason, I went to go into the freezer to grab something, and I just saw like a dead person's head, like just chilling in the freezer, like this is just normal. And then we closed the door, and then we walked towards the door, and I think that's like where it ended. Like there was nothing else that I like really remember.
What I remember was that you were feeling really anxious. Like she just
Yeah.
constantly felt like she was gonna get caught. And it was at some point she was naked.
Oh, bitch, yes. Because now that like it takes me a little bit to remember. So like I remember, right. Yo, that shit was wild. So yeah, so like the anxiety of just like having that fucking head just there.
Yeah, like I
And then like
remember like
somebody was coming to the door, so she was like, "Oh my god, I'm gonna get caught." I'm trying to think, like, did she fuck the mailman? Is that what happened? Because
I feel like she did fuck the mailman.
yeah, right. Because like I think like she opened the door and then she was like, "What's that?"
Yeah.
Because I was married too. Like I knew that I was married. I think I killed my
I
husband.
think we knew the head. I think it was your
The
husband.
husband,
OP.
right? Murdering husbands out here. Bop, bop. So yeah, so I think that's what it was, right? That I had like murdered my husband and I was cheating with the mailman. Yo, my soap opera of a past life. But so yeah, so then I like invited the mailman in and like I just remember like me being butt naked. And like I think that was it. I think what may have happened, like I just wanna like, I don't know, obviously because I didn't see this, but I think what had happened though, because like if there is a pattern of me just like seeing the death, maybe he found the head and then murdered her.
Maybe.
That could have been it. Like,
Yeah. Yeah. I say trust what you're feeling because it's your light, like it's your soul's journey.
right.
So if you're feeling that, then that's probably what
Yeah,
it
like she got caught. Like that's what
is.
ended up
Yeah.
happening. But then there was obviously like a life in between that and me because
Yeah.
there's got to be 20 years. But like
A
for
lot of
me,
times we don't necessarily see the life directly before this because sometimes it's too close. You know what I
right,
mean?
right.
So who knows? Or maybe you just
But
did.
what's
Maybe
crazy?
you just stayed in heaven, wherever else in the afterlife,
I was
chilling.
just waiting. I was
You
like, I
kept
gotta
my
get my
spirit up there and was like, "Yo, let's go back together." But like,
right. No, but what was crazy though, like now that I'm talking about both of them both died young. Like they both died in their 20s and 30s. Oh my god, I'm 26. But but yeah.
you're gonna be good. You're gonna be good. Yeah. So I led that past life meditation just straight off the dome. Like,
And that took a good minute. Like we were doing
yeah,
that.
no, it was like an hour. It was like an
Yeah.
hour. And then after we did yours, you were like crying, whatever, we processed it.
Right.
I tried to do one on Xavier, but he just could not, like, he couldn't get past the door.
Right. Because
There's,
he just also was very skeptic.
yeah. But like when you're doing a past life meditation, like you don't just go straight into your past life. Like you have to get to a place subconsciously in your body, in your soul, where you're open to entering that part of you. And with Xavier, he kept going back to Central Park and it was like in the present. Like
Yeah.
he couldn't, his mind and body and soul just wasn't ready to go into the deep subconscious. And that sometimes happens. You have to be like super open to it.
Yeah. And like be okay with like seeing wild shit.
Yeah. Yep. And doing it with someone that's safe, like,
Right.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yesterday when I was talking to my friends about it, I was telling them, so the first past life regression I did was by myself watching a YouTube video. And I saw, I feel like I saw three lives, but I distinctly remember two. And one of them, I was royal. Like I had like the powdered face, like Victorian time type of thing. Like I had money. I wasn't a royal, but I think I was like wealthy and a part of high society. And I just remember like entering that life and all I thought about was suicide. Like I was so depressed in that life and I just hated my life so much. And
Damn.
that's all I got from that. Like that, like I literally went into that life. I looked at myself in the mirror, I saw myself, and I just like hated everything. Like I wanted to rip off my dress, I wanted to rip off the wig, I wanted to clean my face, but I was getting ready for a ball. And then after that, I went into a past life where I was like indigenous and I was running. And I was a woman, and I just remember like having like white spirals on my boobs, white spirals on my shoulders. And I was running with what could have been my husband or partner. I feel like I was holding a baby, and we were like running through the forest and trying to hide. Yeah, and trying to hide, and just being really scared. And like that's all I felt was like really scared. And then when I came out of it, I just remember being like, this is, I might carry some of the depression from that life. And just like this constant anxiety, I feel like came, like that's what I took out of that session. And then the second time I did past life regression was with a professional. And there was a group past life regression session where it was a bunch of people in the room and she led us through a meditation. And I saw three past lives. So the first one that I saw was I was a man, and I like did electrical work or something. Like I just remember I had like a truck, I was living in the desert, I had big hands. And I was coming home, but I was like anxious coming home. And when I went into the house, which I'm gonna put a content warning before all of this, but content warning. I went into the house and I saw I had two kids and they were crying. And they were like, Mom, Mom, Mom. And I'm like, what's wrong with Mom? And I had felt already inside me like I had been worried about my wife. And I go into the bedroom and my wife hung herself and she had committed suicide. And then in that life, I somehow got flash forward into the future and was at her funeral. And I just felt this immense guilt. Like I didn't do something to prevent this. Like I felt this guilt that I like just wasn't good enough. Like I didn't save her. And that like it was my fault. And then what I took out of that past life was just this intense, like really intense responsibility to protect people from pain. And that's something I've struggled with all my life in this life. And it's something that I've had to let go, like work through, like releasing the shame, releasing the guilt. And yeah, like I felt like also in this life, something that I've always kind of carried is like this continual mourning. Like I realized afterwards, like I've been mourning her death, even though it was
Wow.
a past life. But I've always felt like this, like I'm mourning something, but I can't put my name on it. And I realized when I did that past life regression, like it's coming from that life. And then the second past life.
That's bad, sad, bro. Like, but that's also beautiful in itself, right? Because it's like, what if you're able to help your past life move on and like let that person be free and just like understand that
Right.
like there's nothing they could have did, you know?
Right. And then my second life, I was like a Vietnam soldier, but I was like a Vietnamese soldier. And I was hiding in a swamp, but I was dying. It was cold. Like I just felt like I was dying from hypothermia. And all I got was just like me in the swamp, really, really cold. And then all of a sudden getting really, really, really warm. And then seeing my life, that lifetime flash before my eyes, seeing my girlfriend, seeing my family, and then
Yeah.
that past life, because like when the practitioner was like leading us through the meditation, like after every past life you also reflect on what it is that you like, what it is that you're carrying from that past life. That's why I asked you that, because I didn't ask you that when we did your sessions because I
Oh,
was an amateur. um, but in that past life, I really truly lived. Like I lived life. Like I had a really full life, even though I was young.
Yeah.
And yeah, just like that was one of the lives where I really got to fully love and live, and I had a good family. And I had a lot of pride for my country. Like it was weird. And just like I left that life in peace. And like my lesson was, like looking at it in my present life, making sure that I don't regret anything. Like he died not regretting that he died the way he died. Like I wasn't regretting how it went down because I got to love. I got to, like, I did it to take care of my family. Like it was like I did everything with so much honor. And that's like something that I carry with me now is, living with that type of honor and integrity. And I don't remember the third life. I'm trying to think. I don't know if we did a third life, but I feel like we did. But anyways, that was that. And then after the session, she had, like, before we did the session, we all had to pick a card and have it upside down. And then after the session, you flip the card, and then she channels for you what she sees. And so the card that I had was medicine woman slash man. And she was like, you have had many, she was like, you're a very old soul. You have had many, many lifetimes where you were a shaman and you've helped people heal. And she's like, you're a powerful spiritual person. And then that time I was like, sure.
Sure, whatever you say.
And then, of course, like 6 months later, I'm learning Reiki. But yeah. And then the second time, well, the third time I got some sort of past life reading was with a witch. She did a reading for me. And what she came out talking about in terms of like karmic baggage or like just what I'm carrying that needs to be cleared out was I've had a past life where I used to read palms of rich people and I was scared for anyone to know. So my practice was very secretive. And what I carry from that lifetime here is that I'm so scared to like come out as a spiritually gifted person. And she was like, you need to let that go. And it was like in France. Like I was like some sort of French nomadic person who was reading rich people's palms. Like I was known within the royal community
Circle,
as
right?
like we call Ash to read our palms to make choices in our life or whatever. And it's so funny because I've always like when I've envisioned like Magistus Botanica and like how I use my gift or whatever, I've always been like, I don't want to be super well known. Like I want to be the type of bitch that is reading for,
Word of mouth, right?
yeah, like word of mouth, reading for wealthy people. Like I'm really living comfortably and taken care of, and it's not through any type of fame, but it's simply because I work with people who pay me well.
Yeah.
Um, and that's kind of always been my vibe, but now I'm realizing that that was a past life.
Trying to like,
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
put that in there.
And now
That
like I'm
influence.
I'm meant to expand in a different way. We'll
Yeah.
see where life takes me. But yeah, passive regressions are so fucking interesting.
They are
Like,
100%.
and even just thinking about like readings I've done with clients and sessions, even like past life stuff comes up even when I've done healing sessions with people. Like I've seen people who were mermaids in the past life on a different planet. I've seen people who were a different type of species on a different planet. Um, and just like entering, like I've been able to even see like how different their mind is. Even like when I've seen a client who was an animal in their past life, like how different the mind is, how different the thinking is when you
Right.
see that. It's just all fascinating to me.
But I think also what was cool is the fact that like because it was so physical, like I was physically with you and you were able to see like what I was seeing. I think like that's why you should only do it physically. Like
Yeah, yeah,
the other
no, like
person needs to be there so that you can like see it too.
yeah, like I currently offer a karmic past life reading where it's a reading where I'm not digging like what me and Amy did years ago where I sat with her and we explored her past life. This is more so we are going straight to the point. What is the karmic baggage that you're carrying? What is the karmic lessons that are coming into this life from your past life? But I do really want to do past life regressions with people, but in person, once the pandemic is fully over, because we're still dealing with COVID. We're dealing with monkeypox. But once shit is good and I get my own space, because right now I'm completely blessed that I have a second bedroom that I use as my office. But once I'm able to get like a real physical store, physical space, I would love, 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 love to lead people through past life regressions because it has completely changed my life and it has affirmed so much and it's been so healing for me to understand just like emotions that I just carry with me that just didn't make sense for this life. And I'm
Yeah,
sure a lot of you guys, that's the same experience that you had, where you just carry certain things, certain feelings, and you just know it's not from this life. Past
yeah,
life regression is really good for that. And even just to know your soul a little deeper.
yeah. Because like I like now that you like talk about your multiple sessions, like I want to do another one. Like that's where I'm at because I feel like it was just so like I have really bad like memory issues just in my own life. But the fact that we did this years ago and I remember everything so vividly when I like talk about it, it's how I knew. It's like being in the avatar state and I see all my past life. I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I highly recommend it. You could always book with
10
me
out
and we can do a karmic reading together. And then once I have a physical space, like catch a flight, let's go and let's explore your past life together.
So I'm gonna be there in October. We're gonna do it again.
Oh yes, we're gonna do it again actually in October, and we should record it. We should record if you want to. You don't have to.
Yeah, I don't care.
Okay. So yeah, that's this video. Thank you, Amy, so much for
Of
joining me and
course.
sharing your experience with everybody on YouTube, with people that follow me. I appreciate you. I am so fucking grateful that I have a sister. Like,
Same.
so grateful that I have a sister.
I would have been off this earth a lot earlier if I did not have a sister, to be honest.
That got a little dark, but
My bad.
Um, yeah, thank you, Amy, for joining me and
Right.
being vulnerable and sharing your experience. And again, thank y'all for watching. I hope that you got a lot out of this late night epiphany slash early mornings epiphanies with Ash. And like I said, if you want to dibble and dabble into your past life, I do have a karmic past life session that I offer. It's in 30 minutes of us just looking at three areas of your life that you want to know what karmic baggage are you carrying that needs to be released in this lifetime. So thank you so much for watching, and I send you so much love and blessings. If you're not already a subscriber, subscribe below. I will be making more videos and posting more consistently. And if you got something out of this video, please feel free to give us a thumbs up and comment below. Bye.